All right. So back here, you may have noticed that we've kind of stayed out of the fray, if you will, for the past few days regarding Charlie Kirk's murder and all the different machinations that have gone into that. There's still, even in the last hours, there's people pointing out inconsistencies in information, inconsistencies in witnesses, and other things. So rather than get involved in that, we decided to get a look at the changes in organizations that may result from Charlie Kirk no longer being with us. One of those potentially would be, well, who is going to, if anybody is going to lead Turning Point action and their organizations? They're quite large, lots of people involved, and very frankly, lots of money. And so it's interesting to watch what people are saying, both about Charlie, about others, and what they're doing in order to potentially position potentially themselves or others in the days to come about who's going to be doing what. So let's start. It's there's a number of different moving parts. So we're going to start with this. Ben Shapiro of the Daily Caller arranged to contribute $1 million to Turning Point in order to help their efforts. And he talks about it on their show with others from Turning Point and others associated with Turning Point in this. Let's take a look. Whoop, bear with me. I got to pull up the actual video. That would help, wouldn't it?
We produce on the fly here. It's a live show. It's always sporty.
Yeah, I don't have a fly. I don't have a fly in front of me, but yes, here we go.
We trust you at TPUSA to do it. I mean, that's really the answer. We're willing to provide, and we are providing any level of material support, any level of support on the ground, boots on the ground, helping you to do what Charlie would have wanted to be done here. And I think that the reason that everybody trusted Charlie, and the reason we're all mourning Charlie, is because nobody did it better. You spelled out two of Charlie's goals. You said, he wanted to bring people back to Christ and bring people back to church and back to biblical values. And he wanted to keep the MAGA coalition together.
And expand it.
And the question is how you do that. And the answer is you focus on the first, and the second is a byproduct. Okay, the answer is that, as Matt says, you have to unite around something. And yeah, we can unite in the short term around the fact that there are a bunch of people who hate our guts and want to murder us, which of course is true. But long-term unity, big movement change, which is what Charlie was really trying to drive, and why he went to talk to people who disagree, is about building around those core values. And so the long-term vision, yeah, we'll have our petty squabbles, and yeah, some of those squabbles will be more than petty, but the long-term vision has to be built around those original biblical conservative values that Charlie stood for, things like the Bible, things like free markets, things like family, all those things are things Charlie stood for. You got to build the coalition around values, because we can't build it around the man, but we can build it around the values that he left behind and that he spent his entire life fighting for. And, we couldn't be, frankly, more honored to join you guys as much as we can in the fight.
Thank you for that, and thank you for donating the Daily Wire $1 million, breaking news on this show. Thank you guys for honoring Charlie so well today. God bless you.
Okay, so you just heard Ben Shapiro talk about Charlie's goals, Charlie's values and objectives. And one was to bring people to Christ. And another was to bring them to an understanding of how to apply that in a conservative manner on behalf of the country and so forth, and on behalf of their followers. So there have been a couple of quotes from Shapiro that suggested to some that his intention was to step in and try to become the leader of Turning Point action. He made certain comments about, well, we're going to pick up the mic where Charlie left it and continue right on. Well, that's a we're going to do that, which makes it sound like he's part of the we're. That has some people concerned, and it goes back to exactly what he said. What were Charlie's values, goals, and objectives? One was few will disagree that Charlie was a very devout Christian, and espoused that for many while still maintaining that others had the right to have their own beliefs. Yet was a very solid Christian and led TP Action that way. Shapiro is on record saying some things that don't appear to be necessarily consistent with that. Some of that came out in his conversation with Joe Rogan. Let's listen to that.
From a Jewish point of view, where we don't believe in the divinity of Christ, I think that there you can make an argument that the Gospels, which were written,
he was just a prophet, and
significant. No, we don't even believe he was a prophet.
What do you think he was? What do you guys think?
What do I think he was historically? I think he was a Jew who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans and got killed for his trouble, just like a lot of other Jews at that time who were crucified for trying to lead revolts against the Roman and got killed for their trouble.
So he became legend in story, and it became a bigger and bigger deal as time went on.
Yeah, he had a group of followers, and then that gradually grew, and do
you think he was resurrected?
No, that's not a Jewish belief.
Okay, I just want to check.
Yeah, no, we're not into
we're
not into miracle stories. No, that's not. No.
You don't have any miracles?
No, not by Jesus. Right?
No?
They're ones in the Old
God
Testament.
ones?
Like I can't join a church. I assume I don't believe the things that people in the church believe.
You probably could if you donate. You got to give the right amount of money.
Well, I don't believe in the Jesus, so there's that. There's
the
that
Jesus.
Part. Yeah, that's not my thing, right? I mean, so that's.
So going back to the way that Charlie approached all of this and led Turning Point, you can see why some would raise concerns, I guess I'll call them, about whether Shapiro is appropriate to lead the organization. We don't know. We don't have an opinion, but we are listening to those that have and are reporting certain concerns. Is this consistent with where Turning Point's coming from?
You know, it's actually a revision of history there. It wasn't Jesus who was leading a revolt against the Roman Empire. He was leading a revolt against the Jewish Sanhedrin. And the Jewish people were the ones that eventually revolted against the Roman Empire. So, I mean, there's a quote, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. So I find that interesting.
It is interesting. We're going to hear more about these concerns in just a minute. So Ben Shapiro and many others seem to be very supportive of Charlie. Yet there's been other voices, other writings that do not appear to be nearly as supportive. I saw this today. I'm going to pull it up. It's a post from MJ Truth Ultra, and it quotes the Times of Israel in saying some pretty harsh things, some damning things about Charlie Kirk. And so we often tell our listeners and viewers, don't believe anything you see. Go check it. Go see what you can find if you fact check things. And so I did. And so I actually went, bear with me for a second here. I went to the Times of Israel and I found the article. And in the article, you can see the author, I believe, is listed here. In the article, here's one of the key quotes. The list goes on, but the point is clear. Charlie Kirk was an extremist, racist, misogynist, fascist. Undeniably, Kirk was an evil man who dedicated his life spreading hate. That seemed like a remarkable quote, given everything else that we hear from so many other sectors regarding Charlie Kirk and his work within Turning Point. How does that play out with others that we've come to listen to regularly, people like Tucker Carlson? Well, let's hear what Tucker Carlson had to say about some things that he had heard from Charlie Kirk prior to the devastating events of last week.
Shocked and sickened by the reaction of the ghoulish and really repulsive reaction of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, to Charlie's death. Basically made it all about him and all about his country, immediately trying to take the energy, the sadness, the grief that people felt over Charlie's murder and redirect it towards support for whatever project he's involved in. And by the way, Benjamin Netanyahu is not the same as the nation of Israel at all. Bibi is despised by many people in Israel, and if you know people who live there, you know that that's true. There are huge divisions within the Israeli government. I mean, there are certain parts of the intel world in Israel that do not support some things that Benjamin Netanyahu has done recently. So it's not the same as attacking Israel, attacking Bibi, but I don't think I've ever seen anything lower than his attempt to hijack Charlie's memory and use it for his own political ends, particularly because what he said was completely untrue. Charlie didn't hate Jews. He loved Jews. He had tons of friends who were Jews. He loved the state of Israel. He loved going there. He did not like Bibi Netanyahu, and he said that to me many times, and he said it to people around him many times. He felt that Bibi Netanyahu was a very destructive force. He was appalled by what was happening in Gaza. He was, above all, resentful that he believed Netanyahu was using the United States to prosecute his wars for the benefit of his country, and that it was shameful and embarrassing and bad for the United States, and he resented it. Didn't hate Netanyahu. He wasn't out there with a placard saying that, but he certainly expressed that to me and a lot of other people. And there's no question that Bibi's defenders on the internet will call me a liar or a kook, but that's a fact. And enough text messages exist that I think it can probably be verified in pretty short order. Not that it needs to be, because that is true.
Okay. So again, I want to make it clear, we are not making judgment here. This is way too early for us to be able to discern all the different moving parts and people's opinions underlying all of this. But I believe that it's logical and reasonable to let people see what is being said by others so that they can continue their own research and their own learning to be able to draw opinions on their own about all of this. It is very interesting that a list of those who will attend Charlie Kirk's funeral and speak was brought out. And here it is. And I know it's small perhaps on the screen, but if you notice, it's got Trump and the vice president and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, and of course, Kirk's wife, Erica. But look down at the bottom of the list, Tucker Carlson. And this was based on the judgment, I'm assuming, of folks up to and including the president. So this should be very interesting, the comments that come out from all of this, in not just in the funeral, but in the days to come. So we recommend people keep their eye on this and pay attention.